Hi there, and welcome to Transponent Trailer Sales. Today I'm going to be walking you through your 2025 Chaparral 254Rls. We are just going to start off at the back of the unit. If you notice up top, you are pre-wired for a Furion observation camera. If you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact our parts department and they can put together a quote for you. Also located at the back is just your stair set, so you can get up and check your seals and everything up on the roof periodically. And then along the passenger side, you got your bumper tube. Just squeezing and pulling this cap, it'll come out of place. This is typically where you're going to want to put your sewer hose once it's used. Just keeps all the smell out of the unit. We do currently have both new ones inside the front compartment, which I'll show you in a minute. You got your landing here in the back. Then located just in between these two tires right underneath, you do got your freshwater drain. Just that little cap there, counterclockwise, loosen that off, and all your water would come out of your fresh tank. You also got greasable shackles with this one here, so just giving those a couple pumps of grease every once in a while, keep things nice and lubricated and moving. You got your main 50 amp twist lock connection here. You just take a note of that silver strip there. It lines up with the silver strip on this side. Firmly pushing it into place, 8th turn to lock it in, and then you got that threaded collar to really lock it down. If you follow that cord back, you do get your standard 50 amp plug-in. Now a lot of campsites may not have this, so we do also include this 30 amp dog bone adapter to go down to 30 amps of power. Just keeping in mind when you are going down to 30 amps of power, you can only have one air conditioner running at a time. This unit does only have one air conditioner equipped currently, so this would be plenty of 30 amps is plenty enough to run it as it is. But if you were to go with the second AC eventually, you would need 50 amps to run both at the same time, so just be mindful of that. And then we also include a 15 amp park adapter to go down from 30 in case you have the unit at home and you want to run your fridge on your driveway. Just keep it in mind, 15 amps of power really is just to run your fridge and your lights, so just be mindful of that. Located over here, you got your sewer cap. You're just twisting and pulling that off. You got those two ears. It's the same ears that your sewer hose has. You just line up with those tabs and lock into place, and you would have your sewer hose connected. And then you have your body and your liquid waste. Your liquid waste is going to be your dirtiest water coming from your black tank. It's the sticker tube here. You're always going to want to try and empty that first. This is going to be your dirtiest water, and then you come back with that next one, which is body waste. That's your gray water, and that's going to be typically cleaner water because it's filled from your sinks and your showers. You got your furnace exhaust. Whenever your furnace is running, it's going to be blowing out hot air, so just be mindful of that. You got your black tank flush. So the way that works is if you're noticing you're getting false monitor panel readings or just an odor inside the unit, you can thread a garden hose in here and turn it on. It helps flush that tank out, but you're gonna notice the sticker here. It's very important that you do have the sewer connected and the black tank open as you're pushing pressure into the tank. And if the pressure has nowhere to go, it could expand that tank to the point of cracking. So just be mindful of that. You got your city water connection. This is also gonna be for your tank fill. I'll explain all that once we get into this compartment here, and then you do just have your little exterior shower with hot and cold water. It does just open up with your silver 751 key, which will come included with your unit. You're just sticking that key in there, twisting it, opening it up. Like I said, hot and cold water with a little swivel head. Tucks away nicely in there whenever not in use. Now, inside this front compartment, we're going to go over a few things. You got that starter kit that comes with that 10-foot sewer hose, 15 amp park adapter, and then just some other miscellaneous goodies. This customer did also opt for the Titan sewer hose. Great little addition. Now, located on this wall here, you got your cable satellite hookups. And then you do also have the way your water system works. So there is a little legislative here for where to have the valves and how to use them. I'm going to go over it quickly. So you're going to see with this one to point up and this one pointing to the left. You're going to be on a tank fill mode, so that once you're hooked up to your city water and turn it on, that's how you're going to fill your fresh tank. Now, once your fresh tank were to be finished filling, typically you're going to have the overflow spewing out water. Once that's all done, before you go inside and try and turn on that water pump, you do have to make sure that you turn the valves back to system in use. So that's going to be with this bottom one pointed up and this one pointed to the left. Now that would be how you'd be running off your water pump. And then of course, if you're at a site with service, you can thread a garden hose into your city water connection, turn both these valves up, turn on that water. It's going to pressurize all those lines without the needing to run your water pump. And then that same setting goes for your winterizing. And for winterizing, you got this little cap here. Loosen off the cap, take it off, and then you have this hose, which you could thread on there and put into your jug of antifreeze. Pretty simple. And then on the front wall of this, you got your battery disconnect switch. So with the battery disconnect switch in the on position, the batteries are connected to the unit. If you were to turn it to the off position, the batteries would become disconnected from the unit, in which case it does disable the 12-volt system inside. So just be mindful of that. You got lights on either side of this compartment as well, just on their own little center buttons there. This switch does turn on front accent lights on the front there. Nice little feature at night if you're wanting to keep your campsite a little lit up. And then you have your electronic leveling system. You just got to push that power button, and of course the 12-volt system does have to be connected for this to work. It'll show you ready. At this point, if you're already at your site, you could hit auto level. The unit is going to automatically level itself. And then as soon as it's done, it'll say complete and you're all good. Then to retract, you just have to hit that retract button and then pick whichever jacks you want to retract. You can also do that manually as well between your left and your rights. If you're pushing these up and down buttons, it will go between the different settings. You have an auto hitch setting, which you can set up once you find out what level your truck is and everything. You got auto retract all. Hitting enter would automatically retract all the jacks. Auto retract rear, and then manual level, of course, if you want to manually level it yourself. And then just back over to ready. Now in this compartment here, in the front, is just a propane tank. You do have two on either side, 30 pounders. They work pretty standard. I'm going to go over the other one on the other side, but this is where your second one is located. Located at the front, you do have a little docking light. And then inside this front compartment, just loosening up those hinges. Lock that into place. Get inside here. Again, you got a little light inside here. Lights it up. Nice storage space. And then, of course, you got a battery located inside this box here. It's just held in with some screws and wing nuts. Now around this side is where the other propane tank is hidden. I'm going over this one just because it is the main system here. So I got a flashlight. Let me just grab that and turn that on. You're gonna notice you got your regulator back there. It does have a selector valve. So with the selector valve pointed to this way, it's running off this tank here. It works like any standard barbecue. You're just turning that on counterclockwise all the way, nice and slow to open up the flow of propane to the unit. Now, if this tank were to run empty, you can close the valve on the tank, switch this to the other side, and then you can draw off that other tank. Of course, you do have to go turn it on first. And then this is just the other side of the compartment. Not much in here you really gotta worry about. You're gonna notice it says drain outlet here. You do have your two low point drains located right underneath the floor here. It's just like your fresh tank. You just got to take those caps off and it's going to drain all those lines. The reason they're called low point drains is because it's the lowest point in the water system, so it's going to drain as much fluid out of those lines as possible. That's good if you don't want the water going stale or stagnant because you're leaving the unit for a while. And of course, winterization. Now you do come to your little Furrion hot water heater. You're just twisting that knob, which will allow it to pop out of place. Pops right out of place completely. You can set that off to the side. Now you got this little accent plate that also just slides up and you can pull it out of place. Main thing you're gonna be worried about inside here is just that power switch that turns on the power to the thermostat inside, and then we'll go over firing it up inside. This is just going to be for your flow of water, your flow of water, we typically do just leave it on max because that's the most optimal setting. And then you got your little brass plug here. So I'm gonna go over that now. For winterization, typically with your standard water heater, you're gonna wanna turn bypass valves so you don't allow antifreeze into that system. Now it's the total opposite with these on-demand systems. You are gonna wanna run antifreeze through the system, of course with it off. Once you're done all your winterization through all your other taps, whenever you're done, just crack in this brass valve open and just allows all the fluid out of there. Because the coils are so small, antifreeze does still gel up even though it doesn't freeze, and it just allows it for a place to go. And then to get everything back in place, everything does just line up nicely, clicks into place. Then you can take the cover and put it back on. And for winterization, I do recommend leaving that brass plug out because, like I said, antifreeze can still gel up. So it's just allowing it for a place to go. And sometimes this little rubber gasket can be finicky. You just gotta get it in place. Once it's pushed into place, just locking it in. You got your two 110 plug outlets. And now for the best part, coming inside, you're just pushing the assist handle up, folding it 90 degrees, it'll lock into place. That'll allow you to open up the door. You do have to have your door open all the way for the stairs to fold out. And to get those stairs to fold out, you're pulling that safety latch, bringing the stairs towards you. They're gonna start folding down. Now you're gonna notice on the side of the stairs here, you do got this lever. If you pull that up, it'll allow you to retract these feet in these channels so you can have nice and level stairs for your campsite. Of course, right in the doorway, we do got your fifth wheel hitch, which this customer opted for. We're just gonna walk around it today because it is pretty heavy. Up on the wall, you got your entryway light. Turning that on just turns this one entryway light above your head. Then this black switch over here turns on the rest of the lights inside the living space. You got your main slide out button, so pushing and holding that out, the slide out's gonna start making its way out. And once fully extended, you're hearing the whines and the clicks of the motor. Whenever you are running that slide out, before you run it, always being mindful of what's on either side of the slide. And I say that because, of course, on the outside, making sure you're not going to run it into anything. And then on the inside, just giving it a quick overview, making sure nothing's shifted during travel that's going to get caught in that slide out, causing any damage. So there you go, you hear that clicking, so you know you're fully extended. Now you got your monitor panel system, so just pushing whichever you want to read is going to tell you where it's currently at. You got, of course, it's going to show you got black 2, gray 2, and aux. Those actually aren't hooked up to anything. You do just have black 1 and gray 1 that are hooked up. And then, of course, your fresh entryway lights. You do have an awning LED light. Turning that on turns on that nice strip light underneath the awning. And then you have some more accent lightings around the exterior just by pushing up on that button. And then you have your awning operation button. Push and holding up, it'll allow that awning to extend. Once fully extended, you're going to see the back of the metal tube and a little flap hanging down. Unfortunately, just due to space, we're not going to be able to get to that point today, but we will be able to get it out enough so I can show you the rest of the features of the awning. Whenever you're rolling this awning out, just keeping an eye on the wind speeds, as you don't want to run the risk of bending your arms or ripping your fabric. So unfortunately, that is all we're going to be able to go out today, but I'm just going to retract it a little bit. Now if we were to start raining, you can take any arm, front or rear, pull down it at the center. It's going to change the pitch of the awning head, allowing water to now run off. Now if you like that angle better, because it allows for more shade underneath, you can do the same thing with the front arm, just making sure that you do push those arms back to straight before you try and run that awning in. That way you don't run the risk of bending anything. And then to retract it, it's just pushing down, which is allowing the awning to retract, watching to make sure it rolls the right way in. And once the arms contact the side of the trailer, the motor would automatically cut out. You do have an extended camping season tank heaters installed on this unit. So it is for extended camping seasons. You do have it on the waste tanks and the fresh tanks. Just keeping in mind, it is just little adhesive heating pads that stick onto the bottom of the tanks. So our Manitoba winters are much too cold for this to be adequate. Realistically, anytime you're going below -0, you do run the risk of things still freezing. So just be very mindful of that whenever you're using it. So once you're inside, we got our back little seating area, which has storage all around. This couch does fold out into bed in case you were to have guests. You do just have to remove the cushions. And then that'll allow you to pick up the bottom of the couch and start folding it out. Then you could take your legs, fold them out, plop that down, flip the back cushion down, and you have yourself another bed. And it's just the opposite, to get everything back into place and just putting your cushions back where they belong. Entering into your slide out area, you got some accent lights on their own little button here on the side. You can turn them on individually as well with their own center push buttons. You have your eating area, so this also folds into a bed as well. You're just having to remove the bottom legs from underneath the table, set the tabletop on these ledges, and then take your back cushions to fill in the center. Storage underneath as well. And then on either side of the couch, you do have USB plugins as well as 120. Now we get to the entertainment area. Pretty much just like home, minus the fact of your soundbar having a couple different zones, power button in the middle. Everything else runs like a standard stereo. You got a USB plug-in, HDMI plug-in, and then you do have your different zones. Zone 1 is going to be your interior speakers. Zone 2 will be your exterior speakers. Storage all around, like I have already explained. Now your TV is on a swivel mount, so it'll allow you to pull that out. But whenever you are traveling, always making sure that you latch it back into place. That way you don't bang it into anything while you're traveling. You're going to notice your coax outlets here. You hit this little black button that turns that light on. That does turn the antenna on the roof. I typically leave them on because it also improves radio frequency, but it is going to be a personal preference thing. Again, whenever you are done using that TV, just making sure you do get that audible click so it's locked and not going to go anywhere whenever you're moving. Now into the kitchen space, you do have your fridge and freezer combo. The controls for both are just down here. You got off, turning it all the way to the coldest setting. The fridge will be on its coldest setting. Anywhere before that is obviously a warmer setting. Right below your fridge, you got your main fuse and breaker panel. Whenever a breaker trips, it's going to sit in the middle, so you do just have to turn it off and then back on again to reset it. And if you ever have a fuse blow, there will be a little red indicator light telling you which one's blown. Into your kitchen space now, you got your oven, which does run off propane. I'm going to mention now, I had the propane system running earlier, so it's going to fire up pretty quickly, but whenever you do turn the propane system off, it allows air into the system, so if it's been off for a while, it can take a few minutes just to purge all the propane out of the lines, so just be patient with it. And whenever you get to your campsite, if the propane system's been off, before you go to try lighting a water heater or anything else off propane, I do recommend just firing up the stove quick. It just helps to purge all the air out of those lines, so you're not getting any fault codes on anything else. And then to get it to light, you're just pushing that in, turning it over to the high option. You're gonna hear those igniters turning on. Sometimes it can take a few tries, like I said, so just be patient with it, but you do see it does fire and light up eventually. Whenever you are running your stove, I always recommend running your range hood. That way you're evacuating most of those propane fumes out of the unit. And then to light the oven, it's the same thing. You do have an oven light, which also turns on some accent lights as well. And then to get the oven to light, just turning it over to that pilot option, pushing, holding the knob in. And underneath, you're going to see it try to light. And you'll see it'll go out, sometimes it'll go out a couple times. But once that pilot light stays lit, you just have to hold it for a few seconds sometimes. Once that pilot light stays lit on its own, like it is now, you can turn it up to your desired temperature and it does fire right on up. Of course, you do have storage all throughout the unit. And because we were talking about propane here, there is an LP detector located right here near the ground. Propane's heavier than air. If this guy ever starts going off, you're just getting to worrisome levels, don't panic. Just turn off the main supply of propane and open up some windows and vents just to ventilate it out a little bit. You got your kitchen sink with hot and cold water. Nice little cover here for whenever you're traveling. And then you got your main GFI plug located right here on the wall. You got test on the left, reset on the right. If you ever have an outlet that doesn't work, this would be the first place I'd check, just making sure that that GFI plug didn't trip. Like I said, you're going to find lots of accent lighting that has its own button throughout the unit. Storage all throughout. If you take a step on up, you have another light here which turns on a hallway light. Now you're going to notice on the wall, you got your main thermostat here. The mode button, pressing that turns on at first the air conditioner, in which case you're going to go fan on. Now at any point in time, back to fan. You can go between your different fan settings just by pressing the button. Going into cool, that is going to fire up that air conditioner. It's going to determine what it's doing based off of what you have your thermostat set to. Again, you got your different fan modes. Whenever you're on fan on, the fan runs full time regardless of what you have the room set to. But if you're on auto fan, it's going to kick the fan in and out. It's going to become an on-demand system. So let's say the room is at 63, you want it down to 60. Once the thermostat notices it reached 60 degrees, it's going to cut the air conditioner and everything's going to be good that way. Now this air conditioner is equipped with a heat pump. So what the heat pump does is it essentially reverses the operation of the air conditioner. So on air conditioning, it blows out the cold air and blows out the hot air, blows in the cold air. When it's on a heat pump, it's going to blow out cold air and blow in hot air. And then on top of that heat pump, you do also have a furnace. That furnace does have one fan setting. It runs regardless on one speed. And the furnace moves all its air through the floor venting you have throughout the unit. And the air conditioner does use the ceiling ducting, and you have a couple different options. With this louver closed, it'll move all the air throughout the ceiling ducting. And if you open up this vent, it is just going to dump all its air into this main living space. And then of course, over this one more time, you can run the furnace individually if you'd like to go that way. And then one more time, we'll cycle you over to off. So a couple different doors in this upper portion of the unit. They are on their own little center snaps here. Those are travel straps, so that of course when you're parked, you can use them as a door. When you're traveling, they're going to swing freely if you don't have this strap, and it can cause damage, so be very mindful of that. Light switch on your right when you get into the bathroom. You got a little roof vent here, opening that guy up. Fan button to turn that on. This customer already did opt for the max air cover. Great little addition to have. Now on the wall, you got your thermostat for your water heater. Power button to turn that on is just right here. You can change it between Celsius and Fahrenheit with the press of a button. And then you just have your up and down buttons to change your set temperature you'd like it to. Now, if you were to turn on a hot line, you would get that little flame when it started heating. And that's it for that there. Otherwise, you got your sink and toilet. And then these doors are glass. You're going to notice it also has a travel strap so that it can't move during travel, because if you were to unlock that, you can close the doors off. But of course, if you're moving, these are going to swing freely and more than likely could smash. So again, just always being mindful, always making sure all your travel straps are locked before travel. Now, last but not least, taking a step into the bedroom, light switch right on your right. You are prepped for a second AC. Again, if you'd like to get set up with that, you can contact our parts department. It would just go in place of this roof vent, and of course, it's already prepped behind the wall there. We just have to cut out the hole. You got your fire exit, pretty simple. Pulling this red tab, the screen's gonna pop right out of place, and then in which case you can push this handle and hop on out of the unit. All the blinds in your unit are gonna work the same way. They're just gonna kind of sit where you leave them, and then one quick pull will allow them to retract back up. Underneath the bed, if you lift up, you have a second little storage space. Now in the closet, nice little closet space, but again, noticing it does have that travel strap. So whenever you're traveling, you do have to have that open. You can latch it on the magnet if you trust it, but again, I do just recommend leaving that strap hooked. Little motion sensing light inside here, so it's only going to turn on whenever it senses motion. And then you have a TV backer in this back corner, coax cable right up on the roof, as well as 2 plugins. That's going to be it for this unit here. If you have any other questions, feel free to give us a call.